All right, welcome to part 3 of the Introduction to NVivo workshop. In this video, we'll be going over how to run a query for word clouds, how to create a node from a query, and matrix coding. So let's go ahead and open up NVivo. And queries are how we ask questions about the data using NVivo. You can begin queries either from the Home or Explore tabs. We're going to start from the Home tab and click on Query, and then scroll down to word frequency in this document and select that. It should pull up, oh, mine's already pulled up, but word frequency query tab. Sometimes it might take a second to load, just be patient. Okay, here's the word frequency results window. So here we can select the number of words we'd like to appear. So I'm going to use the 50 most frequently used words, and I'm going to do a minimum word length of 4, just so that it takes out words like and the that are maybe frequently used, but not necessarily giving us data. And you can also select over here about how specific you want the matches to be, if you only want it to include exact matches, or if synonyms and other generalizations are okay. So you can make that decision over here. I'm going to leave it on exact matches. If you'd like to save the word frequency, you can hit Save Criteria, and it should pop open a small window where you can assign a name for your word frequency query. I'm going to name it Sample Query 1. You can put a description in if you'd like, and then just hit OK. And then I'm going to hit Run Query. It might take a second to go through all of the document. Just be patient while it loads. And once your results pop up, you can see each word, the word length for how many letters it is, and the count. So this is how many times it was used in the query, in the document, and then the percentage of each one. So that's the summary, but then you can also, if you go to the right, select word cloud, the tab below that. And once it loads, you can see a data visual that'll show you a word cloud where each size of the word is based on how often it was used. So it'll give you like a visual representation of the most frequently used words in your data. You can see at the taskbar at the bottom, how much time you have left, and there you go. So here we can see the larger words are the words used most frequently, smaller words less so. At the top, you can select different colors and layouts for your word cloud. So whichever design suits your project better, you can select that. So if you want a different one, for instance, it will load it. And there we go. And if you'd like to export this, you can hit Export Word Cloud, and then that'll pull up where you can save it as its own file, JPEG, or any of the other file options. You can also copy and paste it into a Word document if you'd like. So those are some options to export the data. Okay, now next I'm going to show you how to create a code from a query. If we go to the Explore tab and hit Text Search and give it a second to load, we can set the parameters for a new query. In this search, I'm going to be searching for how the word tourist was used. So we just enter the word here. And again, you can select whether you want exact matches, stemmed words, synonyms, or other generalizations or if you just want an exact match. I'm going to leave it with exact just to make it easier. And I'm going to click Run Query. You're going to need to give it a minute just to run through all the data to find how the word tourist was used. And there we go. So here's the summary tab that'll show you each file that the word was used in. And then if you hit the reference tab, you'll actually be able to see the individual references appear. And if you click on the blue link, that will actually pull up the file and you will be able to read the reference in context with the individual file it was used in. It'll pull open in a new tab right here. So that's pretty useful for figuring out how a word was used in your data. So if you're going through and finding that tourist is going to be a new theme or any other word that you're searching for has become a new theme, then you don't want to go back through all your data to recode all of it. So what you can do is save this criteria. And if you hit that button right here, you can name it. So we're going to name it tourist, and you can put in a description if you'd like. But we're going to save it to so that the results are saved and easily pulled up. Now, if we want to save it as a new code, we would just hit Save Results. And then instead of saving it to query results, we can select codes. And I'm going to name it tourist and hit OK. It should automatically open in a new tab once it loads. With the new code, the results should pop up in their own tab. It might just take a minute to load everything. All right, now that it's loaded, it's pulled it automatically up in its own tab. And again, we can select the blue link to pull open the original file that the reference was used in. And we can also, if you go through it and you disagree with one of the options, you can highlight it and right click and select uncode from this code. So if you're going through and you disagree with one of the options, this is particularly useful if you did not choose exact matches. If you chose synonyms or something like that and you disagree with the word that was chosen, you can go through and unselect those. So now tourist should also be listed under your codes with the number of references that was in your query. So that makes it a lot easier for going back through data to code something that you've realized later is going to be an important theme. That'll make it a lot easier to go back through. And again, if there's any mistakes that the NVivo pulled that you disagree with, just uncode it. And that is a great search feature that NVivo lets you use for data analysis. Okay, so the last thing we're gonna learn how to do is matrix coding. So if you go to the Explore tab, again, you can hit Matrix Coding Query, and it's gonna pull up another tab. And it will let us select the rows and columns we want for our table. Once it loads, it may take a minute to load based on how much data you're using. Okay, and here we go. So under rows and columns, you can hit the plus sign to select the data you would like. So I'm going to hit select items, and then I'm going to go to codes, auto-coded responses, and auto-coded survey data. And let's see, I'm gonna select water quality and types of development questions and hit OK. And then for columns, I'm gonna also select items, go to codes, and then go to attitudes. I'm gonna select all of the attitudes here. And then hit run query. And this should give us an example of a matrix table about attributes toward dimensions of the natural environment. So this should just give you different feelings, whether positive, negative, or neutral feelings toward these two questions. Now, NVivo doesn't always do this perfectly. For instance, it doesn't understand sarcasm. So you'll want to click into them to make sure you agree with how NVivo coded it. But this will give you how many responses it thinks was coded as negative. And if you just double click it, it will pull up all 89 negative responses for this question. All right, and there we go, it's loaded. So the 89 negative responses that I clicked on can be seen here, and you can scroll down and read all of them and make sure you just agree with everything that it coded as negative. Again, if it's wrong, you can always right click and uncode it once you highlight it. And you can also look at the matrix query as a chart to give a visual component of it. There's also different chart options up at the top bar right here if you would like to change anything about the chart. So those are some different options for visualizing data and analyzing data, organizing it in NVivo. I hope you've enjoyed this workshop. Please check out the rest of the workshop tutorials. Thank you.